This is the Kpopcast, and it's that time again for me to take you on a K-pop summer vacation trip with me back to LA for KCON. But luckily this time I'm not alone. Joining me today is someone you've definitely heard on the show before. It is Theresa from It's a K-Pop Thing. Welcome back.
Hi, I am always excited and happy to join the Kpopcast. So thanks for having me. If we have not met on the episode yet or on a previous episode yet, my name is Theresa and I'm the co-host of the podcast. It's a K-pop thing. And yeah, long time listener, not a first time caller, not a first time co-host, but happy to be here to talk about all things K-beauty.
Yes, Theresa holding it down for our fashion beauty expertise, as well as the only person who was actually at KCON this year. So I'm really excited to get to see from your perspective everything that you saw on the floor this year. But guys, if you didn't know, this is actually the 4th episode that we've done in our series covering K-pop. But this time as you can tell, we're going to be focusing on K-beauty and specifically asking the question, is K-beauty at KCON for everyone? And how is the inclusivity in the brands, and how has this changed over the past almost 13 years that KCON has been coming to LA? So before we get into all those topics, guys, don't forget to join the Kpopcast listener fam on Slack, and of course help chip in for our show costs. Links to everything in the episode description. I am so excited. Let's just get started. Oh my gosh. I always use Tapia because it is like the single song for LA KCON. Yes. Okay. So KCON time, summer. K-pop summer always means KCON. Unfortunately, I wasn't there this year.
We missed you. It was a good time, but you were missed.
But you were at KCON this year. But before we get into KCON specifically, let's just talk about K-beauty in general. And specifically, I'm so curious for you, Theresa. What is your K-beauty origin story? Like, when were you introduced to this very important pillar of Hallyu?
It is a very crucial, I think, component of Hallyu. Mm-hmm. Well, for a little bit of quick background, I was a journalist and a writer and editor for several years. And when I first started my career, I actually covered beauty and style. That was kind of my beat. So I very much remember, 2015, 2016, when we had all of the viral BuzzFeed listicles and, trending beauty articles about like, this is the new it trend that you have to try. I mean, this was like peak. If we go back in time, this was, I think, a very crucial time for the YouTube beauty influencers, or the beauty YouTubers who, had millions of subscribers. And it was heavy on the Anastasia brows, the cut crease on the eyeshadow, the liquid matte lipsticks, Kylie Jenner coming out, not too long after that with like her lip kits. Mm-hmm. This was definitely like a time in the US and in the Western beauty market where it was like heavy makeup. And at the same time, we started seeing all of this new fascination with Korean beauty trends that were focused on skincare. So I don't know if people remember, but about 8-9 years ago, we had the viral Korean 10-step skincare routine. Yes. That was like the thing that it was, what does glass skin mean? Mm-hmm. How do you achieve that? And the secret is it's 10 steps. And then, I think to a lot of Americans who were interested in beauty, who grew up like myself on the apricot skin scrub, which was like horrible, and like don't recommend that. Don't do that to your skin. You do not use a physical exfoliator like that on your skin, especially your face. It's just way too harsh. But I grew up on teen magazines and Allura telling me that that was the way to go. So then I remember when I heard about the Korean 10-step skincare routine, and it included things like toner. I had to this day, several people have no idea what a toner is, what an essence is, how do they differ? Do you need both of them? So I think it was a interesting culture shock that was very, very, very interesting and intriguing for a lot of beauty editors. I remember especially being in New York at New York Magazine's The Cut, and I would overhear these conversations with the beauty editors at the time and the writers, and they were just like, again, having these debates about like, okay, how do we differentiate between these products? Like, what is an essence? And there's just like entire articles dedicated to what is this product category. So that's kind of what I remember about K-beauty, like in the early days here as a writer. And now it's so interesting to see all these years later that it's, if you talk to somebody who's a skincare enthusiast, they're not going to flinch if you say toner.
Right.
They're not, they are not, face mist. That's a thing that they just, one of my friends just loves having a little bottle of a face mist at her desk. And like, I just can't imagine, it's amazing to me how far we've come in the Korean beauty space over all these years, almost a decade later.
Right, because for me, going back into like my first exposure back in like 2009, 2010, like seeing, my exposure being like through like K-dramas and like variety shows, seeing these like idols and actresses like using face mist and putting on like even a face pack or a face mask for the first time and being like, okay, what is
That's
that?
a thing. That's
what
a
was
thing
that?
now. But back then it was like, what is this? You look like a ghost, But now I see so many people, especially young girls, really, really gravitating towards like the sheet masks and the pimple patches. That is the thing that, is a runaway hit with teens. I volunteered at the beginning of this year. I'm in Los Angeles for people who don't know. And we had the wildfires in Southern California at the beginning of this year. And I volunteered with this organization called Altadena Girls. And we essentially helped curate, help young teen girls who were affected by the wildfires to rebuild like their wardrobe and get their beauty supplies, just to kind of get the things that they needed, whether it was nails or maybe makeup, maybe skincare, to kind of help them feel like a teen girl again. And I will tell you that the product that girls went nuts over and just could not get enough of was the Korean pimple patches.
Right.
If we had pimple patches, that was a thing that was just like, I love it, must have it, And I don't even know that we had that when I was a teen, like as an option. And that is something that I really attribute highly to the K-beauty wave.
Right. And again, going back to 2015, right? Like you seeing that being this really pinpoint year in the beginning of that wave, at least in the U.S. Because if we go back to kind of where Hallyu was at that time, we talked about this in our recap of like 2014 K-pop, that 2014, 2015, there was this big focus on the market in China, like trying to market Hallyu for China. But then post 2015, we have the subsequent Hallyu ban in China. And so, okay, there's this immediate 180 towards the U.S. market. And then after that, that's driven through the popularity of BTS. But more specifically in K-beauty, we see Hallyu popularity growing because of skincare, because of all of these Korean products that are now becoming more, one, that are just so interesting and so new for the U.S. market, like we've said, but have also are so effective, right? I think
also true. I think that one thing that you said is they're interesting and new, and in beauty, that's the thing that you want, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody who I would reckon to say that anybody who is a beauty enthusiast you're always kind of on the lookout for the latest it product, the latest like new skincare ingredient that's going to transform your skin. Because let's face it, in terms of beauty trends and makeup style specifically, the one thing that will never ever go out of fashion is having clear, youthful skin. And Korean beauty companies have this down like pat. Like that is their that is their golden baby in terms of the beauty sphere. Like Koreans love a fresh, youthful face. It was, they're the antithesis of what we had back in the day with the bright colors. Like you will never really see that in Korean dramas, somebody having like a cut crease eyeshadow. Like that's just not a thing, which again leads to product innovation categories. So Koreans really, when they focus on skincare, they're experimenting with like new ingredients that over here in the West, like we're just like an ooh and ah of, because we would never have imagined it. Like, what is it? The salmon sperm, that you can now get as an ingredient in certain creams or serums, or in some cases, if you go to a specific clinic, you can get it injected directly into your skin. Like, you hear that, and like, as a beauty consumer in the US, you're like, what is that? That sounds bizarre, but also highly intriguing. And now I want to learn more.
Right. Before the salmon sperm, there was the snail mucin. Before the snail mucin, there was, what was it? Like any kind of like different kind of like fruit product, I think. Specifically in at least K-beauty, you have this like focus on like rice as being in like rice water being so effectively, and like that
rice toner,
the traditional like Korean skincare coming into the modern products. Yeah, but again, getting back to KCON, right? When it comes to all of these brands getting a chance to, make a name for themselves in the U.S. market, whenever I would talk to the marketers that are on the floor, they said that KCON has always been that spot for any Korean brand that, one, is first trying to make a name for themselves in the U.S. and also trying to maintain a foothold, because there's no other event really in the U.S. where you have this collection of K-pop fans who are also very consistently consumers of other Korean products, and specifically K-beauty products.
Yeah, I started going to KCON, I believe it was like in 2019, and I've gone to every KCON that's happened in LA since, barring the pandemic shutdown. So I have a few years under my belt of walking the convention floor at least one day every year. And it's been interesting to see, just the evolution of the representation and of Korean beauty at KCON. I remember 2019, there was a lot of focus in terms of freebies and samples and products being sold on the shimmer eyeshadow palettes. Just very, very, very sheer tones with a little bit of shimmer on the eyelid. There was still a little bit of like the liquid kind of lip tint, but not nearly as glossy as what's currently trending in the market right now. Like, when you say lip tint today or lip oil, you're really thinking of something that's like super hydrating, super juicy, that's really like a stain but still maintains the gloss. So just over the last 5-6 years, we've already kind of seen a shift away from that. And I will say that I felt this year's KCON went back to K-beauty as a staple on the convention floor, much more so than, let's say, last year or even the year prior, where I felt like maybe there was a little bit more variety in terms of the vendors on the floor. So KCON as itself, this year I felt like, one, the layout of the convention floor was actually very different to previous years. So they kind of changed it. The LA Convention Center, for people who aren't familiar, is huge. Like, it could hold probably 2-3 KCONs, simultaneously. But if we go back to even just last year, you had the convention floor, the artist stage, and like, let's say the red carpet were all kind of like in the same primary general zone. You could exit and then enter into a side room where you had artists also performing throughout the day on another stage. Sorry, it wasn't the artist stage on the main convention floor. I think it was like one of the dance stages. But you would have artists, like I think I saw JO1 go on the convention floor.
There was like a showcase stage specifically.
Yeah, it's a lot of little stages.
And then like a meet and greet artist stage. And then in between those two stages, kind of like a music festival, you had the floor of booths and vendors.
Yes. So it made it very easy to quite literally even be in line for one of the vendors to either get a freebie or purchase something and still literally see idols on the floor.
Look across and see an idol doing like some sort of game or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was last year. This year they didn't do that. They very much had pretty much the convention floor itself with the vendors and the activations. They had a dance stage for like people who wanted to do the dance challenges. And I think there was still the X stage, formerly Twitter. I didn't quite see, artists. They had those like mostly in the morning. But everything else it was like a 10-15 minute walk to get to everything else in the convention. So as an attendee, what this meant was that when you walked onto the convention floor, it really was like a shopping experience that was pretty much focused on K-beauty, specifically because Olive Young was this year's, I think, biggest sponsor in terms of activation size on the convention floor. So
there's definitely been as far as the difference, going back to like your comparison for 2019, post pandemic hiatus and pre-pandemic hiatus has been a very big difference as far as the brands that have the most space on the KCON floor. Whereas pre-pandemic hiatus, you had a lot of smaller brands, a lot more local brands, even like more individual booths and a lot more presence of like, again, more than just the big sponsors. Post, we've seen more space given to the largest sponsors, especially given to Olive Young. Like I feel like the Olive Young booth has only gotten bigger since 2022.
Yes, like honestly, I don't even really remember seeing them on the floor last year. So we don't even have to go back to 2022. I remember last year, 2024's KCON, the big sponsor, the biggest K-beauty sponsor there was really Theresa. Yes. Which I actually have the sample that I got at last year's KCON. They had a huge activation space on the floor. And I remember it was primarily because they were really, really pushing their cushion foundations. And specifically the fact that they had such a large shade range. I think it was something like 80. Don't quote me on the number, but it was something like astronomically ridiculous. So you could go and get color matched with somebody to get your exact shade range. Or, you could play like a certain game or line up, and then they, would kind of look at you, and then you would get like 6 different shades. So for instance, I got one of these little packets and I got 6 different shades that I could try out, which was really nice. I didn't see Theresa there this year, so I don't know what happened, but I do remember last year they had a huge campaign also with beauty influencers just in the space, again, promoting this particular product. And listen, I'm still talking about it a year later, so something worked.
Yeah, because like tier, again, comparing how things have been different, like it is insane to me that you can find a Korean brand cushion in that many shades. I know whenever I was going on the convention floor and trying out makeup, like back in 2016 and prior, like I wouldn't even try. Like I wouldn't try because I knew a lot of the Korean, they're just not gonna have my shades. Like even me, and I'm like a light to medium tone. And Tier has really been an amazing brand that's come up recently and is really pushing, I think, how not only how you can be successful and inclusive, but also, doing it well and having a really solid product. Though there's still a lot more room for innovation. I do know, especially last year in 2024, I was there with my friend Yemi, and Yemi, she's Nigerian. She has a much beautiful, deeper tone than me. She was still having trouble finding her shades, at least in the samples that were on the floor at KCON that last year. So if they weren't there this year, I'm curious to see how that brand has evolved since their activation last year.
Yeah, and I think this also highlights something that, one, I think this also highlights just one of the common limitations of K-beauty, which is their very, very limited shade range in general. I think this is, if we're speaking generally across the board for K-beauty when it comes to foundation shades, even like eyeshadow, because all of that, also comes into play. It's a very narrow, very light shade range. So, I've seen plenty of like TikTok or content creators who go to Korea and they're shopping at Olive Young and they'll swatch something and then they're like, this is ghostly pale, on my skin. And I think that's been a common disappointment among or just beauty enthusiasts, I would say, like in general, when it comes to K-beauty. However, what we've seen is that there's like a strategy shift, right? So some Korean beauty brands do very, very well with the Korean general public and market. And then there are other Korean beauty brands that strategically make an effort to appeal to the Western market as a K-beauty product. And those are the companies that you can see a little bit more innovation from, like Theresa, versus, you can ask what the most popular Korean products are in Korea, and those will be very different, or at least very different likely than what you might see in the West.
Mm-hmm. Then, I'm curious then, if we didn't see a lot of Theresa, was it mostly then the Olive Young where you were seeing these other, or was it a switch from like cushions to like lip products? Like where were you seeing more from the booth this year?
Yeah, good question. So, like I said earlier, the biggest beauty sponsor, at least as an attendee, in terms of activation size, was Olive Young. So right when you walked into the convention floor at KCON this year, you were greeted by this huge Olive Young activation space that had different zones. And I would say it had about 6 different zones, kind of like in an X formation, and you could kind of walk through them. They did this last year, if I remember correctly, and they did it again this year, where you could go and buy a special Olive Young beauty box that kind of, I don't know if it has like their best sellers plus like some samplers, and it's like at a huge discount off of like what you would normally buy either online or full-size products. But this year they had it where if you bought one of those boxes, you could get like a skincare analysis done with one of their machines that told you exactly what type of skin you have. They had that, and then they had another zone that was specifically, I actually brought some of the products. I almost forgot this, where for Pro Bioderm, which is a 3D lifting cream, looks like this. They gave me a bunch of these, and they had a whole zone, again, just dedicated to this product. It's basically, think about it as we've moved away from anti-aging as like a term in the beauty space, but this is kind of, now that you see terms like this, like lifting, it's pretty much that sort of thing. They had another zone where they gave out 2 full-size products of the Colorgram lippies. So I don't know if you could see that, but these kind of look like this. They're very cute packaging, and these are the really, really popular lip tints right now. Funny enough, this one my friend got me while she was in Japan last year. So I was already familiar with Colorgram, as a lip stain kind of lip gloss. I'm actually kind of wearing it right now. And it has like a nice like shimmer or gloss.
Right.
And not shimmer, sorry, like a gloss. So it's like really, really hydrating. And at the Olive Young one, you could, walk through, sample a lot of different shade ranges, and you get 2 full-size products. I'm a little disappointed that the one, going back to Inclusivity, the shades that they were giving out were just these really, really sheer, like peachy, like, look at that. Just very, very sheer. Whereas like, I don't know, this is maybe a personal preference, but I want more color on my lip. Like I want more color. And instead you still have even the shades that are being gifted to, gifted at KCON, just very, very sheer. I wouldn't say that they're quite as a lip stain, but that was really nice to see. Also glosses. They had a whole other section also dedicated to sunscreen, which I thought was really cool because that I know is that's kind of the it thing right now in terms of K-beauty, because we just do not have in the US and in most Western beauty markets like good sunscreen options.
No,
we just don't. And Korea's like way, way, way ahead of us in terms of skincare protection, UV protection. Skincare benefits that are also included in your sunscreen. So they had a whole activation for that, which was really cool. You could walk through and you were like on a live camera, and it would tell you what part of your face or wherever like you had sunblock on.
Oh,
so that was kind of cool. I walked by and I had like a black face just because it's like a black and white camera, I should clarify. So you could see the contrast, and it looked like I had painted my face with like this like black tint, but it was because I had this like heavy duty sunscreen.
And that's how you know it's effective.
Yeah, which was really interesting. And I tested some of their sunscreens, and I had them on my arm, and I was like, I don't really see anything. Why is it not black like on my face? Because that's the one that I had on at home. And the attendant there told me that it's because it was a difference between a chemical sunscreen and a mineral sunscreen. And she said that one absorbs, I think, the UV rays, and the other like reflects it.
Oh.
So the sunscreen that I was trying on at Olive Young left me basically with like a ghostly pale look on the camera. Whereas like the chemical sunscreen that I had that was absorbing the light was like dark. And I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
So sunscreen especially has when I talk to attendees, when I talk to brands, it's one of those, like when people are getting into K-beauty in general, it's one of those things that has brought a lot of people to that like the space, because of like, again, so little effective options in the Western market. And specifically last year when I talked to Subin, she was the head marketer for L'Oreal, which is like one of those K-beauty like platform sellers. They worked with like Etude House and CosRX and Mixun, a lot of like the more popular brands. But specifically the House of Dohwa sunscreen. Like if I had not gone to KCON that year, I would not have had that experience of getting to test it in person and realizing it is my favorite sunscreen ever. And
really?
It smells amazing. It's one of those ones that it's like it uses like the Korean traditional like rice like extract as like the base. So it like it smells like, it has like a very faint smell, but it smells amazing, and it's also so effective. And it's those experiences are why I think K-beauty has just exploded, because you can go to KCON as somebody who, or at least as somebody who lives in the US and in California, you can go and experience these products and then find something that you're going to stick with for life.
Yeah, look, I brought out some of the free samples that I got just like at the Olive Young activation. And we have here a Samu Galactopore toner. I got like a bunch of these, which I will definitely be using. I also got BioDance Collagen Gel Toner Pads. I will say that I am now a loyal consumer of toner pads, and it's very much due to KCON.
Right.
Like the fact that I got a bunch of these last year and then I could just do what I see in the K-dramas where they just like slap them on their face and they're walking around their house.
Just going about your business, doing laundry,
I was like,
washing
that's
dishes.
a great idea. I can do that. And it's so much more accessible also than like the sheet masks, which I feel like limit you, if they're not cut right or whatnot.
Right.
But definitely got a lot of those. And I'm excited to try them out because that's like my new thing. And I feel closer to my Korean actors who use that.
Let's see. I was trying to think of like what else other topics we haven't kind of covered.
Oh, so maybe you can ask me about just aside from Olive Young, the other K-beauty stuff. Because there was an experience that my niece had. She's like a darker shade than me at one of the booths where she got to test like a pimple patch, and they loved it because they could shade match it with her because she's like darker skin tone.
Right.
And I thought that was really nice that they were like showing.
Yeah. So apart from Olive Young, obviously this year was a big. What other experiences can people could attendees at 2025 KCON experience as far as K-beauty goes?
Yeah, in terms of the vendors, I think everything definitely leaned, like I said, primarily in the beauty space. It was interesting to see hair care. That was kind of like a first. I hadn't really seen that in previous years, but I definitely got some samples from this company called That Nourishing Hair, which is really interesting. I hadn't really seen that before. And, we talked about the beauty, the pimple patches being super popular with teens. I was actually walking the floor with my niece, who is a few shades darker than I am. And she had a really funny experience where she went to one of the booths and they were really touting that they had the world's thinnest pimple patch. So they put it on her, the back of her hand. And then I was really truly impressed with just the tiny detail that they had a non-Korean makeup artist at the booth who then applied makeup matching, my niece's skin tone on top of the pimple patch to help to show how well it could blend in with makeup. And I just thought that was like the kind of detail that really can convert, somebody into a potential customer, because it's like, okay, if you're going to be selling this at a to a global market, and again you want to appeal to non-white, non-super pale customers, like it pays dividends to pay attention to those details, that you even have foundation shades that are darker so that you can test it on consumers that aren't stickly pale.
Right.
Yeah.
See,
so that was nice.
When I hear these stories, that kind of like heals something in me. 'Cause, again, going back to again my little baby K-pop fan experiences, like being so disheartened, like coming into this space as somebody who is again still medium tone. I'm still medium fair tone, but still never thinking that I could find my shade or share the same kind of cushion that my idol had.
Yeah, I think I think in the beauty space, it's those kinds of details that really make a brand stand out. And I'm sorry that I can't remember the brand's name right now. Maybe my niece would. But it was so funny because they were definitely filming the whole experience for her, and for themselves, I'm sure just for marketing purposes. Right. But I thought that was a nice touch and an improvement over what I've seen in the past years, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then definitely, I don't know if they did this on the floor view, but definitely improvements in accessibility. I feel like if you are a brand on the KCON floor, you are also selling in Amazon. Like there's no you're either selling in some retail store, or you have an Amazon shop where you're able to get your product immediately, which again, 10 years ago, you would have to go through some kind of third party, or maybe like go down the street to your Korean auntie who was selling whatever she had at the Korean market. But it's so crazy how accessible K-beauty has become since again the past 10 years. I keep saying that, but it's like it's come so far. It's come so far.
It really has, because, at least here in the US, speaking as somebody who loves to go shopping for new beauty products, we're pretty much limited in terms of big stores to Sephora or Ulta.
Right.
Unless you're trying to get your beauty products at something like Target or maybe Costco, depending on what type of product you're trying to get, because malls are dead. So you're no longer really shopping the Macy's counter like you were 25 years ago. Like, that's just not a thing anymore. So primarily in terms of beauty retailers here, we have Sephora and Ulta. And we saw infamously that, like, Sephora tried opening a storefront in Seoul. I believe this is Sephora, right?
Yeah, it was Sephora.
Yeah, it was Sephora. I was like, it's not Ulta. Sephora infamously tried or did open a storefront in Seoul and then had to shut down just because its sales were not doing well. Like, Olive Young as a beauty retailer has such a strong foothold on the general market in Korea that Sephora, which is a major retailer here, just could not compete. So now what we've seen is Ulta, other competitors like Ulta in the US start carrying Korean beauty products in their retail stores. So now it's not, I think you can get Beauty of Joseon. You can get, I forget if it's at Ulta or where, but I think you can still get, I got this actually last year at KCON, Centinela.
Yes.
I forget if it's Ulta or Sephora, but I think you can get those at the retailers now. And they're doing this because they understand, they being the companies, understand the mass appeal of K-beauty right now. But Olive Young, being at KCON, paid the big bucks. And when they tell you that they had a huge activation, like,
yes,
they gave us these huge bags. Like, look at this. I'm definitely going to be using this because it's a step up from the bag that they had last year. And it literally has 2 straps. I'm not even kidding you. It has like a short strap and it has a long strap. So depending on how much you're carrying. And obviously reusable bags, we love those. And the little newspaper that they gave out, Olive Young School Times, Korea's #1 beauty destination, store opening 2026. So Sephora and Ulta are finally going to have the top K-beauty retailer as competition here. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I can't wait to see how that changes, dude. What other maybe predictions or kind of like things that we see for the future as far as like K-beauty? I see you mentioned we saw, at least on the floor this year, more hair care products. Like, where do we see the trends going maybe in the next few years?
Well, I don't think that we are quite over the lip tint and the blush combo. I say this as somebody who loves a good bronzer. And for several years, that was like my go-to beauty thing, to add some like warmth to my face. But that is not trending at all right now. And I don't know that we're going to see Koreans, developing any type of, bronzers anytime soon.
Right.
And right now, like, that's just not a thing.
No.
And I say this like quite literally, like I was trying to buy a bronzer recently and realized that like I had to shop older brands that with like products that are, it's the same product for the last 10 years. Like, there's no product innovation in that category. Right now, what's super popular is, like I said, the lip tint and the blush combo, especially with the teens and the preteens. And even myself, Yeah. And I honestly think about taking it back to K-pop. I really, really think that New Jeans and their whole beauty concept completely like wiped. I don't know what I just dropped. Sorry about that. Somebody was listening, was like, yes, New Jeans. What I was trying to say was that I really think that when New Jeans debuted as a group, their concept not only was fresh, like musically and sonically, but their beauty look completely wiped the slate clean in the K-pop landscape in terms of reverting things back to a very fresh-faced, very youthful, high school, barely there type of makeup. We had none of like the glitter eyeliner or shimmer in the eyes. It was very, very, very focused on blush and like a lip stain with a little bit of gloss, you know? And since then, we have seen so many other K-pop groups, you know, kind of go in that direction. And the entire beauty market kind of really followed suit because everybody we're always fascinated with youth and beauty. So if the teens are doing it, everyone else is going to follow suit, truly. And that's what I think, I think blush is going to continue being like a really, really big category. I don't see that going away anytime soon. I do see more innovation, I think, in like the lip tint categories, because I think right now the stain gloss, like you have a lot of the retailers experimenting with like different formulas on there. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Interesting though to see what the next eyebrow trend is.
Ooh,
because we've had a few changes in that in recent years, you know, where we had even the feathered eyebrows, and now it's just I don't even know that that's a focus anymore, truly. So it'll be, I think it's, you know, we saw last year, I think it was last year or the year before, the drunk elephant kids. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. But for our listeners who don't, can you explain?
So Drunk Elephant is a beauty brand that primarily, honestly, I think is supposed to market an older demographic.
Yeah.
Specifically one that is like focused on skincare. You know, if you're older and if you're like me and you're in your 30s, you're trying to maintain, you're trying to have like a chemical exfoliant or something that's really going to help the skin cell turnover rate.
Yeah, for your mature skin, we'll say.
For your mature skin, exactly. Yeah. So not quite mature skin, but you're getting there and you don't want to get there too fast. These are kind of the products. Problem is that these all went viral on TikTok. So then you had preteens going into Sephora and ransacking Drunk Elephant as a product. And there was a whole discussion about should preteens be using these products that really truly have not been tested on 13-year-olds, 11-year-olds even. So I'm kind of interested to see once Olive Young opens how the Korean skincare products, you know, how they land with the preteens, really. Because if they make something go viral on TikTok again, like Drunk Elephant, like that K-beauty brand's going to have struck gold.
Right. And then now I'm thinking like Olive Young is already primed for that kind of age demographic, because I think of when I think of what is it, like a brand that's specifically marketed for like middle school and under, I think of like Etude House as one of those brands, right? That is like for like the more younger to like middle school to even elementary school level brands.
Yeah. You know, that's funny that you bring up that brand, because I definitely was influenced by Blackpink and Jennie specifically, because I believe she was like again, going back to like you see something on a K-drama or K-pop show and then you're like, oh, I want to try that product. And I think Etude was like one of those products where it was like, oh, Jennie, you know, tried this lip tint or whatever. But that formula or those formulas were a lot more liquid matte still. So you had to apply a gloss on top of it if you wanted that. So the lip stain was very drying. I think Colorgram, this is the product that Olive Young, like even
and look
just
at
looking
that
at the packaging.
What
Like,
tween wouldn't
people,
want to
look
hold
at
that?
this has flowers. It looks
Yeah.
like this looks like ready made for a teen. Mm-hmm. I was shopping at the mall, believe it or not. Apparently they're not dead anymore. Or they're trying to,
Make it a comeback.
get the youth back in there. And I walked into a store that was not the Pop Mart, but it's like
Similar.
but it carries like the little Sanrio characters. Point being, I forget the name of it. Miniso?
Yeah, Miniso. Yeah,
Miniso? Okay,
Miniso.
thank you.
Yeah, that's like the Chinese brand kind of version of like the Daiso, but like slightly more expensive.
But it's more like, yes, and then they have stuff for like the tweens, so they have all the Sanrio characters. They have little blind boxes with other types of... I walked into the store and there were children running around. Like there were parents with strollers and little kids running around everywhere. Sorry, my dog's in the background. Ooh, I might have to...
They were like, Sanrio plushies, where?
I know, right? They're like, is it a chew toy? Is it a chew toy? I wouldn't be surprised if they started stocking something like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, no, please be quiet. Okay. Hopefully they quiet down. Is it
because it's dinner time? Is that what it is?
Honestly, it's like about almost 7, so it's probably just because our neighbors are getting home.
Oh, okay.
So then, like, if the neighbors get home, then they start barking and kind of being like, Anyways, Miniso? What is it called? Miniso. Okay, so I walked into Miniso, children running amok. I walked in because I saw some blind boxes and some Powerpuff Girl stuff. And I quite literally, I'm like a fan. I grew up on the Powerpuff Girls. So this Crybaby Powerpuff Girls collab, which is from Pop Mart, was like definitely my thing. But I was like, let me go check out the new Powerpuff Girl stuff. And I will tell you, they had Colorgram in that store, and all the kids were trying the lip tints. So I don't think this is going away anytime soon. And I think there's definitely some research there, and there's a reason why Olive Young has pushed it so heavily at KCON.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to see. One, I'm excited for this new store to come up and see where that goes. But let's see. Is there anything else?
You wanted to talk about the inclusivity?
Yeah. Let's just wrap it up with that one. Yeah. So I think we've talked generally, right, about like kind of like how K beauty has changed and changed for the better as far as inclusivity. But what do these changes, bringing it back to K-pop, because this is still the Kpopcast, what do we think this means for beauty representation in K-pop? Because I know specifically these past few years, when it comes to at least the beauty standards in K-pop, we obviously see our idols in whiteface using these, Korean celebrities and idols using these tone-up products that are meant to literally whiten and brighten as much as possible. In
quotation marks, right?
Yeah. Like, yeah. What do we think that how these kind of like Korean brands getting into this, Korean brands leaning into inclusivity mean for like beauty representation in K-pop? At least in like a mainstream sense, I guess.
Yeah, I think, as somebody who is very pale myself, I personally have not had to, struggle to find shades, when it comes to beauty makeup or Korean beauty makeup, but I am aware of their limitations. And I think that, sorry, scratch that. Let me think about this real quick with what I want to say. Could you ask the last question one more time?
So when it comes to kind of the mainstream K-pop, like what does K beauty brands becoming more inclusive mean for beauty representation in K-pop as a whole?
Well, I think for starters, the Korean beauty brands still have a long way to go.
Right.
I think that we've seen, I think we cannot stress enough how incremental this process has, this progress has been made. You know, let me state that again. I don't think we can overestimate or overstate how incremental the progress towards a more inclusive beauty space, like this has been just for Korean beauty brands.
It's taken us 10 years to get here.
Just very little progress, every year. Progress is good. Any progress is good progress, of course. I think if you are somebody who does not fall within, the typical Korean beauty foundation shades, like you can probably look at any given brand and still be, unfortunately, very disappointed with their very, very limited shade range. However, I do think that K-pop, the trajectory toward more global groups right now means that things will have to change, because if you have groups that are debuting members who are a darker skin tone, like, you can't have them out there looking terrible. So whatever, I'm thinking right now of even just Cat's Eye, and how fanatical their fan base was at Lollapalooza, which they just performed at, which I think is crazy. 1 year, 2 years out from their debut, they're already performing at Lollapalooza, and they have fans rushing to get to barricade to see them. And you have members in that group who are darker skin toned, and are therefore also going to be inspiring new beauty trends. I think that is an area where I'm really excited about, because, when you are a K-pop fan, and like you said, you want to be closer to your idols, and you want to look like them, you want to dress like them, you're going to be naturally interested in what lip shade is what is her name? Laura,
yeah.
Is it Laura?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, you're gonna. So for the edit, sorry. So I think if you're a fan of Cat's Eye, you're gonna, and you want to look like Laura, you're gonna be looking to see, hey, what foundation shade is she using? What lip products is she using? What, aside from just the clothes, you're gonna be interested in how she styles, her hair, how she does her nails. So I think that is an interesting thing and a good thing, I think, for K-pop. So I'm excited to see where things go.
Right. And in a future where it's a Korean brand that Laura is maybe having a sponsorship with because of this inclusivity and because of where we are, they have a shade range that could match somebody as deep skin toned as her. I think it was very interesting when we first had in Street Woman Fighter, when we had that first year where Jam Republic was a contestant, and you had, women on that show that had very different ranges of skin tones. And specifically, MAC Cosmetics was the sponsor for that one, and not a Korean brand specifically, because I don't think any Korean brand last year could have served all the different shades that were on that show that year.
Yeah, and MAC is definitely one of those brands that for decades has had such a lasting power, just in the Western market as a beauty brand. It's definitely ebbed and flowed in terms of relevance over the years and being the new hot thing. But I think that's going to be super interesting. We've on the Kpopcast, we've talked about K-pop groups breaking out as fashion representatives and ambassadors for all of these European brands. So instead of having K-pop idols represent a Korean beauty brand, are we then going to see in the future more and more maybe K-pop idols, being the face of a beauty brand like MAC, or something that's, a lot more familiar to the Western market, and that isn't necessarily a Korean beauty brand. I think that's going to be super interesting to see, because you don't quite see that crisscross, right?
Right.
In terms of appeal, when it comes to these product categories.
Mm-hmm. But we'll be looking out for it. We'll see. Like I said, the 10 more years. I can't wait to see where we are.
Hopefully not 10 more years. You know,
right.
I think within the next 5 years, we are going to see a huge shift, and it's going to be driven primarily by the teens. Yes. And I'm talking about like the kids that are 9 and 10 right now. In 5 years, when they're 15 and they're in high school and their parents allow them to, like, you know, go full out and wear makeup, because I don't know about you, but like when I was growing up, it was like, you can't wear makeup until you're at least 15 or 16 or whatever, you know. And even then it was like minimal. It's like, oh, I'm wearing mascara, you know. Like, you know, we haven't talked about this at all, but like the skyrocketing popularity right now that's not going away anytime soon of K-pop Demon Hunters, and like the chokehold that film has on my life, but also like a lot of millennials and their kids' lives, means that we have an entire generation of kids that are ready, primed right now for all things Korean entertainment, Korean beauty, Korean clothing styles, fashion trends, what you name it. So, and I say this because like Kevin Woo, who is the voice actor for Mystery Saja, he has been promoting the heck out of that film. Right. And he had a meet and greet in LA, which I unfortunately was not able to go to because it was the last day of KCON. But my friend went to it. Mm-hmm. She comes out in the video, so she's right there. And the thing that she remarked on was how many children were at this event. So these kids are going to come up and they already want to be like Rumi.
Right.
So as soon as, you know, EJ starts coming out and saying like, this is what lip gloss I wear, the kids are going to go wild. So that'll be interesting.
Right. Anything else? Any last minute things that we wanted to say, KCON wise, I guess?
You know, I think that the one thing I will say about KCON, and for longtime KCON attendees, is that I have heard, I think from yourself, maybe on past episodes, and other KCON longtime attendees, is that early on in the days of KCON, you had a lot more of a focus on K-dramas. And having Korean actors come to KCON, do interviews, and kind of chat. And I thought that it was interesting this year that it didn't quite feel like that. And I think, I don't know, I feel like that's like a core element that's not capitalized enough on at KCON, just given the fact that K-dramas are just have exploded, will continue to explode. Netflix has invested like $1 billion in K-dramas. You have Televisa, which is one of the major Spanish language broadcast channels and distributors in Latin America. It's like famous for showcasing all the telenovelas. They just announced that they're going to be showing K-dramas. They're going to be like broadcasting K-dramas, which I guess this means I can't imagine like my aunt in Mexico watching a K-drama with subtitles, but like if it's dubbed like the Spanish. Turkish novelas, like she will be watching them. So, you know, just I feel like you have all these other huge global conglomerates recognizing K-dramas, and I just feel like KCON's kind of lagging in that respect.
Right. Yeah. I would direct everybody to our KCON K-drama episode that we did in 2023.
There you go. That's the episode I was thinking.
Yeah,
of.
we talked all about this with
and it hasn't changed.
It has not changed. It
has not changed.
Gotten less and less.
Yeah, I would love to see more K-drama actors at KCON.
I want to see Rowoon walking around the hall trying out some cologram.
Can he do that once he's out of the military? And well, he's not. Yeah, he's going in. Has gone in. He's soon. It's very soon. I think there was like a delay. He was set to go in, and then there was a delay.
It's Cha Eun-woo who's in
yes,
harm's way.
My baby Cha Eun-woo, who is
That bald, beautiful baby.
He's beautiful any which way. Any which way. Cha Eun-woo cannot go wrong. Mm-hmm. I want to know, have him go to KCON and talk about his skincare routine.
For real.
Like, every girl will buy products for themselves and their partner,
Right?
All right. So I just went to, before I forget, I went to see ATEEZ this weekend.
Oh, right.
And I was influenced via K-pop to buy my first ever K-pop beauty collab, which is the ATEEZ collaboration edition of Shine, Mood Stick, and Nasific. I don't know how they pronounce it. And look at this. It's 8 shade ranges, and they're all lip tints, and each one has the member on the case. Unfortunately, the lip product itself doesn't have their face, but the casing is there, and that's cute. And it comes with all these K-pop inclusions, and I was definitely influenced to buy it for that. So
now, the very important question: is your bias your shade match?
Yes. Yes, that is an important question. Hongju in my bias, beautiful lip tint. I'm actually going to split it with one of my good friends. So she's going to get 4 and I'm going to get 4. But it's so cute. And it has good stuff. K-pop, beauty. I want to see more of this.
Yes.
I want to see more of this.
I think the general like final conclusion is we need to see more. It's great. We're doing great. Love it. Love to see it. Let's get some more.
Yeah. Throw in a few PCs. We'll buy it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wrapping up, can you let our listeners know where they can find you on socials and promote anything else you got upcoming, right?
Yeah. So you can always find me on Instagram. I am basically the one running our podcast Instagrams, which is at IKPTPOD. That's IKPTPOD. You can always find me there, or on my personal, which is at Theresa Avila.
You can find me on the Kpopcast Slack at PDNIM, and you can find all of us on the Kpopcast Slack. Teresa's there.
Yes, I am. If you tag me, I will definitely respond.
And of course, if you want to support the show, guys, please consider donating to our Ko-fi. Shout out, as always, to our girl holding it down, Chelsea H. Thank you for your donation. And with that, we say goodbye, everybody.
Bye. It's been a blast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I almost forgot. This shade that I'm wearing, I actually got at KCON last year. But
Did you?
For the life of me. It's like, because I've been using it so much, I can't find the brand on there anymore, so I have no idea which one it is. Because
really?
It just, got scratched off.
That's so funny.
But look at how pigmented. It was crazy that I found something that I would like. It's
a really nice red.
It pulls a little orange, just a little bit, but it's still a nice vivid color compared to the more sheer color gram, right?
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful color. Looks great on camera.